Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? If you are, please smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Today is the day. It's May the 27th, and in the United States of America, I begrudgingly say this, HBO Max launches. Not because I'm not excited about HBO Max, it's because the rest of the world isn't able to have it, and that's just depressing. But it's a big day, and we have an interview here with the big suits from Warner Brothers talking about HBO Max. I've also got some audio track of Bob Greenblatt, is it, talking about what it took to make Zack Snyder's Justice League a reality. And he even says a finished movie doesn't actually exist, and they need to finish it up. Zack's working on it piece by piece as we speak. So that's very interesting as well. And the legend that is Jesse Eisenberg, who played an awesome Lex Luthor, no matter what the haters say, said he would love to play Lex Luthor forever, but he hasn't heard anything about his role. Very interesting. I suppose he would come back if there was a Justice League 2 and 3, which I'm confident there will be. So, big day. The daddy of streaming services that's going to destroy the rest, including Netflix and Prime Video and Disney Plus, is HBO Max, which is Warner Brothers, entry to the big streaming war. And there's a lot to unpackage here. It's not just DCEU, it's DCTV soon. DCTV2. Sorry, so excited I can't get my words out. Anyway, so here's portions of a big interview from Business Insider. Let's go. Earlier this year at a Television Critic Association panel, you mentioned you were still figuring out the subscriptions between HBO Max and DC Universe, which is owned by HBO Max's parent company, Warner Media. Now we know that Doom Patrol, a former DC Universe exclusive, will stream on both Max and DC Universe simultaneously. How did you come to that conclusion? Should we expect other DC shows to transition over to Max? Riley, there have been extensive discussions around DC Universe because DC is such a valuable entity to us, and the depth of fandom is so important, so we really want to figure out how we walk this line for fans, where we have a deep fan engagement, which is why DC Universe was designed, and a broader fan engagement. That is evolving, but there were high-end series that DC Universe produced that felt like budgetary we could handle from a business model better, and bring along and service that swath of fans. Doom Patrol was a show we identified that had deep love for it and tucked right into our portfolio. A Max representative later told Business Insider there are no current plans for any other DC Universe show to move to Max, which basically is good news if you're a fan of DC Universe like me. Can you tease what people can expect from DC Max Originals? Can people expect movie-like budgets? Riley, Greg Berlanti, who is producing a Green Lantern series for Max, has done a lot of really quality DC fare for the CW. These will not be that. These will be next step up in production value. You can expect the highest level of cinematic production values on those shows, and that's the same for the projects we've announced with J.J. Abrams. Now, this is important. Did Abrams pitch the Justice League Dark series? Riley, yes. He's always loved it. He always felt that there was a lot of opportunity there and an unexplored territory, and kind of a pond that he could play in exclusively. Very exciting that JJ's doing that, by the way. Clark, it wouldn't be a complete interview if I didn't ask about the Snyder Cut. How long have those discussions been happening? Was there a specific thing that finally tipped it in favour of its release? Riley, I forgot when Zack and Deborah Snyder first gave us the sense of where they were heading, but even from that meeting, me and my team felt it was something we really wanted to do. There were a lot of issues involved to figure out how we could deliver on his vision, and a myriad of legal issues. We've been sitting on this for quite some time, but working on it. It was obviously a secret project given the high level of interest, but we were chipping away at it piece by piece. There was some strategy, but also some serendipity in how we got over the hurdle of some of those issues just before the launch of Max. Clark, what were some of those issues? Riley, that's a whole separate interview, laughs. Let's file that as a follow-up. And that's what they're talking about there. So, look, very, very exciting. And I can tell you the Green Lantern TV show, which is going to be part of Greg Berlanti's Playhouse, and obviously Jeff Johns is developing that and working on that as well, is going to have a big budget, and that's really, really exciting. But I do have an audio of an interview with Greenblatt, which is someone else, and he gets a bit more deeper in how the Zack Snyder's Justice League became a reality. Yes, here's part one of 2 voice tracks from an interview with Bob Greenblatt talking about HBO Max and what it took to make Zack Snyder's Justice League a reality. Take a listen to this.
You didn't mention the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So I think half of our audience will be very well versed in Snyder Cut, and the rest of it can Google it. But this is sort of a almost apocryphal movie, and you guys are going to come out with a new cut of Justice League next year. When did you decide you were going to do that? It's almost a running joke. The Snyder Cut. When release the Snyder Cut? Release the Snyder Cut.
I know.
You have decided to release it. When did you make that call?
Well, it's been months of discussions with Zack and the producers to figure out how to do it, because it isn't as easy as just going into the vault and there's a Snyder Cut sitting there to put out.
It does not exist.
It does not exist. Zack is actually building it, and it's complex, including, and I don't want to get into too much detail that we haven't already talked about yet, but new effect shots, and it's a radical rethinking of that movie, and it's complicated and wildly expensive, which is of course a number I won't quote, but
I've seen 20 million and 30 million, so I'm assuming it's around that.
Yeah, I'll just say I wish it was just 30 million and stop there, but it's a enormous undertaking and very complex. We had to get, we had to go to the, to the unions and get certain things, clear with them about what we were doing, and is the Snyder Cut a new movie, or is it a recut? There's lots of complexity that the fan doesn't know about, and we weren't just sitting around going, let's not talk to those fans for as long as we can. Let's drive them crazy. We were actually spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to do this, and there's many, many hurdles to jump over. And once we saw that we could do it all and figured out the right economics, which was literally, within the last week, we said, all right, let's get this news out there, because
so this wasn't something we were sitting on it for months and going, oh, this is a great way to have a pre-launch pop.
No, we were really trying very hard to be able to announce it before the launch, because we knew it would be very well received. But we started talking about it, I want to say...
Well, some very interesting bullet points there that we have to get through. This is going to be a radically different version of that movie. So is he talking about a radically different version of Justice League, or is he referring to Zack's original Justice League? I don't know what's going on here. It's very, very, very exciting. He also claims that the Snyder Cut doesn't actually exist. I think the movie exists in some type of form. It's obviously not in a totally complete fashion. I think maybe Zack might have done bits and pieces to it, but obviously, look, they're going to do this. I think they're going to do the scary idea of what Zack talked about at SnyderCon. So this is really, really exciting, and everyone should be excited about this, listening to Bob Greenblatt talking about this, but he talks about it a little bit more. Right, let's give part 2 of this voice interview with Bob Greenblatt from HBO Max, and let's hear what else he has to say about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
In last fall. Seriously.
Yeah, no, I was asking Kevin, your comms guy, that I was talking to John Stankey last fall, and someone saying you should have asked John Stankey about the Snyder Cut. And I said, I don't think the COO of AT&T would be familiar with the Snyder Cut. I said, no,
everyone
who works at Warner Media is very aware of the Snyder Cut. You get informed right away.
Somebody flew a plane over the Warner Brothers lot, a few months ago that said, release the Snyder Cut. And it's like, wow. I mean, I want to believe that wasn't Zack Snyder who was flying the plane, but it's crazy, and we're excited. part of what we need to do with this new platform is bring big events to it, and the Friends reunion is a big event. I'm sorry not to have it, on day one, but I'll be thrilled to have it, in the next few months, and Snyder Cut's next year, and we have to do more and more of that in addition to all the other many, many things that we're doing in last fall.
We have to do more and more of that. What does that mean? More and more of that. Big events? Justice League 2? The Air Cut? Wow. It's thoroughly really exciting. The positivity over at AT&T and Warner Media and HBO Max about Zack Snyder's Justice League is something to behold. They knew about us. They knew about us from day one. They knew what we were saying about them, the negative, the positive, mostly negative. They knew when they took over, when AT&T took over Warner Brothers and, harnessed it into Warner Media, that was the big thing. They knew about us because we were writing to them. We were calling them. They knew what was going on. And it became a very, very big thing. And now we are getting it. But even bigger now is that we get Zack's full arc. And we must keep on making sure that they know about it. They already know about us. They know what we want fully. We want Zack's vision totally accomplished. But I would hazard a guess right now that Zack Snyder is working on his total vision for the first Justice League movie. And that's really, really exciting. Zack's been on Vero today, or the day before, should I say, and a fan asked him about that moment when Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne encounters the Flash and tells him that Lois is the key. And the fan asks him, Thiago Kesley says, hey, boss, will we see this? In other words, will we see that moment explained in Zack Snyder's Justice League? This is what Zack had to say. Very interesting. The timeline is further down, a few more clues, however. So let me repeat, the timeline is further down. A few more clues, however. So more clues to that scene and, of course, the nightmare sequence. But I would assume that Zack is referring to the whole thing being revealed about that moment between future Flash and Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne in Justice League 2 and 3. Again, it would hint that Zack's full vision is going to happen on HBO Max. And again, it's terribly, awesomely, not terribly in terrible, but terribly exciting. That's what I mean. I mean in a positive way. Got to be careful these days because people misunderstand you and then all hell breaks loose, especially in this fandom, right? But anyway, as much as I do love you, of course. But yes, very exciting. I think we can safely say that Zack is not just doing the Justice League. Now, something else in that voice interview, which was very interesting, when the interviewer talked about 20 or 30 million to complete Zack Snyder's Justice League, and he said, I wish it was that much. A lot of people are talking about 60 to 100 million now to complete the Snyder Cut. And this is interesting because this would blow away Humberto Gonzalez's contention that the Snyder Cut is the only film that's going to be made by Zack within this DCEU iteration, and then there's going to be no reshoots. I think if you're spending over 30 million, I think it's double that at least. That means there's definitely reshoots as well as VFX, which puts pay to what Humberto was saying. But of course, that shouldn't surprise anyone. Jesse Eisenberg had an interview with Digital Spy, and he spoke about Zack Snyder's Justice League and getting the news a couple of weeks ago, by the way, before us. Bloody cheek, eh? Justice League star Jesse Eisenberg has reacted to the news that the film's mythic Snyder Cut will finally be released. Earlier this month, it was revealed that HBO Max will stream original Justice League director Zack Snyder's cut of the movie next year, following a huge release to Snyder Cut campaign. And it seems Eisenberg, whose latest film Resistance will be released on digital platforms next month, is thrilled for Snyder. The Lex Luthor actor had a relatively small role in the theatrical version of Justice League, playing a much bigger part in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. But speaking exclusively to Digital Spy following the announcement, Jesse said that he was so happy for his friend Snyder to have his very, very specific vision out there. I spoke to Zack a couple of weeks ago and he told me about it, Jesse said. Yeah, I'm excited because I'm friends with Zack. I'm so happy for him that he gets to release something he's proud of. Wow. I mean, I can't think of any other president in history where there was something of this scope, because it's not just about releasing the movie, but it's required all of this. We call it post-production. So it's not just they're releasing scenes that are finished. They had to do a lot of post-production, and it's such a big process. And yeah, I'm so happy for him. He's a great guy with a very, very specific vision. So yes, I'm happy that he gets that, and he seemed really happy. Eisenberg previously declared that he would love to return as Lex Luthor in a future movie, but admitted he doesn't know what DC's plans are. I don't even know if they know what they're doing with the movies, but for me it was exhilarating, he said of the part. I would love to play that role forever. I have no knowledge about what they're doing with it. Wow, so that's very encouraging as well, but I'm sure I've read that interview to you before, but it's good to get a refresh, right? So 2 weeks ago, Zack spoke to Jesse. Was he just talking to Jesse about the film happening, or was he speaking to Jesse about reshoots? Yes, he seems to be talking to a lot of actors, which is very interesting. As I say, I think we're getting a bigger thing than we ever imagined. And as I said before, the scary ideas Zack's already explained to us. Wow. Now, no wonder this film is a long movie, and no wonder they're considering, turning it into a 6-episode TV miniseries. And Zack's already pitched kind of cliffhanger endings and episodic stuff already. I don't know. Look, we're in very, very exciting times. I was always kind of naive to how much hatred there is in access media and in some of the entertainment industry towards Zack and the people he brings on. And there's this character, Jack Howard, who's got a blue tick. He's supposed to be a writer, director, and podcaster. This is what he threw. This is the shade he threw at David Ayer. David, I was at the London premiere for Suicide Squad. I remember you proudly and confidently stating that there was no alternate cut, and this was the movie as you intended. Do you think it's fair to go back on that for years later, now that you've not trying to sell the movie? So someone else interrupts and says, to be fair, Jack, not like he's going to stand at the premiere and say, yeah, WB cut the life out of the film. I may say, here's what they could throw together in the edit. He'll have been under contract to promote the film and essentially protect WB's image. Now, of course, Jack Howard already knows this, but this is a premeditated attack. He goes on. He replies to this guy, Stephen Davison. It could have been more gracious and honest. There's a way of phrasing these things. I think going back on what he said at the time is poor form. He'll have been under contract to go on the press tour, but definitely not required to say what he said. That's on him. No, it's not on him. He couldn't come out and say that they tampered with his film. That is ridiculous, Jack. This is a premeditated attack. But these are the kind of people who call our movement toxic and our fandom toxic, and they're the ones exposing themselves. It's fantastic. Someone else sticks up for David. Leave the man alone and worry about improving your art. He did the professional thing, but now has the support to stand up for artistic integrity. Exactly. Until you have been in his shoes, don't speak. He's too genuine for this kind of inconsiderate behaviour. So, and it goes on. So again, basically, I suppose, but this is this Stephen Davison again replying to this Jack Howard. I suppose, but at the same time, he probably thought there was no point. Didn't want to get a name as the guy who speaks out against studios exactly, who hire him. I don't know the ins and outs, but I think it's fair that at the time he bit his tongue, and now he doesn't have to. Sure, I totally get it, but I don't like it. Either stand by what you've made or don't. How are we supposed to believe he's genuinely pleased? It's a project again, now that he showed how much he's willing to compromise. Oh my God, this is pathetic. Basically, this is a premeditated attack. And this shows you how deep the hatred is towards Snyder. Just because the man's different and he makes different types of movies and and he has auteurs like David Ayer with him. It's, as I say, a premeditated attack, but David does come back at him. And Jack, see you right and Jack, I see you write and direct. You have to have experienced your work being steered by financiers, not imagining being slapped around publicly for your work, knowing it was never presented as you wrote and shot it. We're all just artists here. Brilliant. Again, he quotes one of Howard's tweets and says, yes, I have a shit way of phrasing things sometimes. Under the world's spotlight, I do my best to market an important film and business venture. Yes, my form is often poor, but please do not condemn my work for my failings as a song and a dance man. Wow, brilliant. Well done, David. You laid him down. Just really, really funny how these people come out of the woodwork. They're so butthurt and sour as that Zack Snyder's Justice League is happening, and probably David Ayer's Suicide Squad and Justice League 2, maybe number 3, and lots of other projects from the Zack Snyder side of the DCEU, which I'm sure will be on the HBO Max side. So, look, very exciting times. I responded to that negativity as well. I do think we need to defend our creatives because there's a lot of jealousy. They put themselves out there for us, and we need to put ourselves out there for them, as long as we're not toxic. And I think the fans that kind of responded to this, Jack Howard, did it in a really constructive way. And congratulations to them for doing that. Now, let's have a look. Where are we? I actually want to find a tweet from the Deadpool creator, Rob Liefeld. Very interesting stuff here. Rob Liefeld, the Deadpool creator, has to say, and he's had a lot to say about the DCEU. And again, he's at it again. This is what he's big Release the Snyder Cut fan as well. He really did help us. I knew from seeing all of David Ayer movies, films, that Suicide Squad had been tampered with and compromised. It didn't resemble anything in his catalogue. I'd love to see his original assembly. So he's got his hand on the chicken switch again. Very well, this is good. He seems to be more interested in seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League and David Ayer's Suicide Squad than seeing a Deadpool 3. In fact, talking very negatively about Kevin Feige having no plans for a Deadpool 3. He kind of backtracked on it a little bit. But anyway, it's not looking too good, but he does seem very interesting in us. He's obviously a big DC admirer and an admirer of Zack Snyder and the way he executed things. And imagine what kind of Deadpool movie Zack Snyder would make. But we don't want that to happen. We want him to remain over at DC. So, look, very, very exciting times. It's, as I say, a massive day today. It's the launch of HBO Max. Gutted I won't be able to have it unless I find a way. I'm not going to go into that here on YouTube. You never know who's watching. But basically, yeah, very exciting for people to have access to HBO Max, see what it's all about. We've got a Green Lantern series coming. We've got new seasons of different things as well. So that's very, very exciting. Season 2 of Doom Patrol. That's what I was looking for. Forgot it for a split second there. Doom Patrol Season 1 was amazing. So lots of exciting stuff over on HBO Max. But the prime time deal is going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. And hopefully, just before that, David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I, of course, will keep you apprised of all updates on Zack Snyder's HBO Max DCEU, which is what I'm going to call it now, even if they're not yet. There's things breaking all the time. It's very, very exciting times, and who knows what's going to happen next. Comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will be back either later with breaking news if it happens, or tomorrow with more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.